one of them was an actual chief, Jonas Applegarth. Good God, Jonas was, 5'8"? No, he was a big man. We had trouble with him because the man was huge. Jonas was probably 275 pounds, but he was homesick. And Raul, as he's telling us, this is our problem. We've got to keep him happy because we need this dialogue. And it didn't work that way. He finally ran off and went home, although Raul got enough of the stuff. And the other gentleman was another Cree Indian, but somewhere down the pecking order. But it was just fun. It's fun to work with Raul. You never know what he's going to do. He had me, I guess, I said, I think I wrote 25% of the picture. Now that's an idiocy. Someone who has never even seen the camera and I'm writing dialogue. Bullshit, pardon me, ladies. That's ridiculous. But Raul made it work. But he was the kind, we did another picture, The Naked and the Dead. And boy, we had a tough time because the first 3 weeks we didn't have a script. Well, Raul's good at that sort of thing. But he got Joey Bishop and I often working on comedy. And Joey is so funny that once you understand what he wants you to do, you do it. But Raul he's such a gem to work with because he's always looking for something. But he's so tough because on that picture we had, and I can't think of his name, the toughest Marine that God ever made. Dusty Puller, I think it is, who's now a god to the Marine Corps, was our tech on that. And he and Raul loved every Saturday. Raul would come out, the sun is like this. He'd take one look and said, rain, that's it, wrap, and everybody goes home, except he liked to sit and talk with Dusty. Dusty was humongous. And we talked, and so this went on for about 4, 5, 6 weeks. And I was kept around as a gopher to go get the drinks and the food, the sandwiches and stuff. And it was great fun for me to get to listen to these two with what they were talking about. And we got all set up, I had everything, and Dusty said he couldn't make it that day, that Saturday. And Raul was really upset. He was almost crushed. And we were practically insulting the man to get him to stay. He wouldn't stay. He took off, and we couldn't do it that weekend. Came back on Monday, and it turned out he'd gone to the hospital for a cancer operation and had the operation and was back at work on Monday morning.
Damn.
Tough mother.
Seriously.
Yeah. He was the guy that on Iwo Jima, on the landing, they had a bunch of green kids. And they realized it, but it was too late. And when they hit the beaches, the kids froze. And they were just being slaughtered on the beach. Dusty ran over and picked them up literally by the seat of the pants and threw them towards cover. He was hit 7 times with fire. And that's Dusty. So when he's going to have a cancer operation, he has one.
Right.
Yeah. Wow. And this was a time in movies where you had guys who really were there. They were in the war.
But
and you actually served in the Navy.
yeah, but mine was a joke.
Well.
And there are people who were when you're getting shot at, you've been in the service. I was in it to play softball. They wanted a team, and I'd been playing softball since I was 13 professionally. And so they made a deal because it came down, this is strange, but I had an appointment to West Point, Annapolis, and the Air Corps. But the problem is you got 4 years, which is great. When you get through, you got 4 years of education. You must take them. and then you got to give 4 years of service. And rightly so, pay for your stuff. And I didn't want that. So, being a softball player, I was in for 9 months, and I was gone. I was back home. So it's unfair to the veterans to say that I'm a veteran.
Right.
They're a veteran.
Yeah.
And you also briefly flirted with law, didn't you? Didn't you do
Yeah,
law
I was,
school or pre-law or?
No, I was in law school. I was at the University of Texas. And the University of Texas was the second most prestigious law school. And I got in because I was in the top 1% of the state of Texas. I was in the top either 1 or 1/10%. And with that grade average, you had the right to choose which school you wanted to go to, and they had to let you in. Wow. Because of your grade average. And I was both that and I had service. So I could go to law school. And I realized very suddenly, these people are serious folks. I was leading my class because I had an idiot instructor, for one thing, and he saw to it that I learned. But law wasn't for me. It was great sport to see real people, both male and female, because they turned out some good attorneys. Barefoot Sanders, just humongous. He's so good. I was lucky. I realized fairly early that wasn't for me, and so I got out. But it was fun. I wouldn't have exchanged the time for anything. It was. Most everyone in there was a veteran of the men, but every one of them was smart.
And I mean, do you think because of going to law school, because of ranching in Nicaragua, your experience playing baseball and softball,
yeah.
and all before you decided to become an actor, do you think that helped you once you kind of know who you
you
were
bet.
and
Yeah.
where you stood? So when you got to a set and someone was like, "Hey, do this," stand,
I was willing to try, but, and that's all they really ask of you, to do the best you can do. You may not be any good. If you're not going to work the next week, but that's okay. Do the best you can do. Raul saw it to it that he was like a father to me. There was nothing I could do bad that Raul didn't like. He kept writing things in for both pictures for me, and it made me very unpopular in a couple of places because we had about 3 other people in the picture that were doing a part, and he took their part and added it to mine. So I was not very happy with, in that group, and I can understand them. I'd have been the same way, but never a bad word, and they helped me do the things that I was doing that they were supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
They help. The people help. The only ones you have to worry with in my business are the little bitty nut. They're the ones you can't turn your back on. But the talented people do anything in the world to help you.
Yeah.
I found that too.
Yeah, I mean, you had the opportunity to work with some very well-known people, very talented people of the time. I mean, by the time you get to the Young Lions, for example, you're working with Montgomery Clift and
A fair
Dean
actor.
Martin. Yeah, I've heard he's pretty good.
Yeah.
You actually got to beat him up in one scene, which I enjoyed.
And steal from him for a while. But but I got Thomas Gomez. If you ask people, John McIntyre, most of them people know, but Thomas Gomez, very few people. Do you know who I'm talking about?
No, I don't know that.
Greatest character person that ever lived.
Wow.
He was an Indian chief when we did Stay Away Joe. He played admirals, he played girls, and he weighed 280 pounds or something. But that's an actor for you. And if you walk around one of those people, it's amazing what they'll do to help, because they're so good, it finally registers in your idiot brain that they're doing something you ain't doing. And not only will you try, they'll help you try. Gomez, Q, don't do this, don't do this. Why are you looking over here? You're stealing from yourself. Do this, do that. Don't lean here because you're covering somebody, or you're cutting off a key light. So be aware of what you're doing. And it is not as easy as it first sounds, because you've got to hit a particular mark, especially excuse me, when you're in a picture like Battle Cry, where you don't have 2 stars and that's it. You got 20. And you're given lines, you have to hit a mark. You've got maybe an inch, and if you don't, they have to do it again. And they don't mind doing anything except doing it again when they're having to pay the bill. So I was doing things that only my crew could teach me, and the director, of course, Raul especially, because he would tell me what he wanted and say level 2, level 3, maybe 1. So you fit in with what he was going to do with the rest of the actors, and you become a commodity with a group instead of standing out where you make the other people look bad. And so and we had just superb actors. You don't think of them as that way. John Lupton, and John and I, we lived together for about 6 months. To watch John work, look at how he takes the scene apart, and you teach you and you learn, add something. No matter what it is, add something. If you don't, you don't belong. You got to do something that someone else is not doing for the piece. You don't steal. You don't try to shine. You try to bring something else that someone else maybe is not missing, maybe not picking it up, and do it. And Raul, voice that. He sees to it that it's not competitive so much as it is helpful. And he will work you it's amazing the way he can do it, and you're not aware of it. Only after the fact do you realize what a crappy thing I was doing. And look what he did with it, and it was marvelous, because he was an actor years before he lost the eye. Oh, he was the leading actor in a number of pictures. Very good. Remember Rain or Miss Sadie Thompson? Beautiful story. He was the sergeant in that, which was a love interest. And he was doing all of that till he lost the eye.
Wow, I didn't know that. So he
yeah.
came to directing a little later.
Oh, no, he's a talent. And so he spent an inordinate time with me. Why? I have no way of knowing. But it was amazing. I'm still to this date, because I couldn't tell anybody when Bert was alive just how it had happened, because they could have busted him out of writing. He was doing which was illegal, and they could have easily dropped him, because at that point in time he wasn't doing anything. I don't believe he had written he had now I can't think of his name. The guy who does the cheap westerns, Bud Bedecker. Yeah, he had worked with Bud, and Bud was a very talented man. And Bert learned from him, do this with it, be sure that this shows up. Mm-hmm. This is for this. And again, they help. It's amazing where you find, no matter how huge they are, Brando was telling me, try this. This may not work, but give it a shot. And everybody, Dean, the actor we were just talking about, now I can't think of his name, Montgomery Clift,
yeah.
who wouldn't you have, what would that man have been like when he was 45 or 50? Unbelievable talent. We had a real problem. He was having a real hard time. And the picture was screwed up because here we are in Paris, working. Brando's in the hospital with scalded balls, quite literally. And Montgomery Clift has got walking pneumonia, and he's the best. He's the most healthy one. Dean Martin has got walking pneumonia. He and I became great friends. But you have to be careful with Dean because he's, what do I say? He doesn't try to be funny. He enjoys life and he's hysterical. Well, they wouldn't let him out of the hotel with Brando in the hospital and the rest of the stuff. And Dean, you ever been to France?
Sure.
Yes.
Okay, you ever stayed at the George Cinq?
No.
No.
Okay, George Cinq was the hotel in Paris. That's where we were staying. They had one chandelier that must have weighed 500 pounds, 700 pounds. It was a work of art. And Dean and I determined we were going to steal it and ransom it back to the hotel. Well, idiots, but I thought it was great sport. And about 5 or 6 weeks later, Dean is working. He's back at work. And I'm in my room waiting, and I get a call from the desk. And they said, Mr. So-and-so is here to speak with you. What the hell's that? Oh, well, I went down. It was the guy that owned a company with trucks rigged for picking up huge loads. Dean had made a deal with, what's his name, had made a deal with him to hoist this chandelier. We'd have been in jail. We'd have never gotten out.
Still be in jail.
Well, that was Dean, but he's so funny. He's so much fun to be around, and the whole picture was going that way. Nothing was right. After 55 days, we were 54 days behind schedule. So it wasn't going too well.
Well, I'm glad you brought up Bud because he's always been one of my top directors.
You're right.
And just nobody talks about him anymore, I feel like. I'm sure you do a lot of these interviews and they bring up Sam.
I almost always talk about Bud.
Do they? Oh.
Yeah, I worked with him once. It was the only time. He made an offer for 2 or 3 more things, just didn't work out. But the man, and I say this in sincerity, and I mean it. He made low budget pictures, and they were low. Mm-hmm. The likes of no one else could do. And I told him, and I believe if you gave him a lot of money, he'd make a piece of shit. Mm-hmm. I don't think he could handle it.
I agree. I think Tall T was about $250. I think was the budget.
They were just. We were doing our own stunts. It didn't make any difference. Yeah. It was fun. We enjoyed doing it. And we had talented people. He keeps them around. The one trouble I had with Bud, he was going with, what's her name? I'll think of her name, the blonde.
From Buchanan Rides Alone?
Say again? Was
she in Buchanan Rides Alone? Or from a different movie?
Yes, she was. I'll think of her name in a minute. She was a big star. Right. She and Bud were in the way of having a great time. Well, she said something that pissed him off, and he threw her out. Well, I live next door. My suite was right next to Bud. And so I heard all this to do, and there was a knocking at my door, Karen Steele. Mm-hmm. And it was Karen. And she started to explain. I said, hello, come on in. And so she spent the night with me. She slept in the bed, and I slept in the sofa. Well, the next morning when we went to work, we opened the door. Bud came out of his room, and we came out of mine. And we had a little trouble there for 2 or 3 or 4 days, till he finally realized that it was all a joke. But he's a very serious man, and he was always thinking. Like I said, I was doing my stunts, which were a lot of harsh faults. I had Mars laying on top of me, and he was good at that. He felt around. He studied the people. Did he do it between pictures? I think probably, and you just weren't aware of it. But Bud is Bud, for Christ's sake. And he was, at one time, a fighter of bulls.
That's right.
Yeah, did you know that?
Bullfighter in the lady.
Yeah.
Sure.
But he studied it. And one of them, one of the greatest of all time, was a friend of his. And he collected about 20 hours of the guy in the ring. He was one of the greats of it. And when I did a picture with him, Bud was forever going to make a picture. Went on and on and on. And I believed he had talent. And I thought a movie might go at that time about bullfighting. So I got in touch with a friend that I knew, an attorney, and I said, I've talked to this director, Bud Bedecker. He's got 20 hours of film. We've got half the film already. It won't take much. And he says he can do it for 50 grand. Can you put it together? And he said, is he really mean? And I said, yeah. I'd ask him 4 or 5 times. Yeah, I'll do it. 50,000 will get me out of it. So I talked to Raul. He raised the money in 30 minutes, I believe. And he had the check, and he came out, and I set it up for him to meet with Bud. And we sat down, and everybody was funny and laughed and giggled. And so finally they came to it, and Rose said, I understand you can make the budget and you make the picture with a low budget. How much is it? And he says $100,000. And Rose got up, put the $50,000 check in his valise, and that was it. That was Bud. He never understood why he didn't get the money.
Yeah.
He was not very bright that way, but understanding what made a picture, he helped me with a lot of stuff about use this. And I was looking forward to it. There was a book out just before he died, something horses, 500 horses, or it was a hugely successful novel, and Bud was going to direct it. And he called and said, will you do that? Sure. And we had a breakfast meeting with about 5 or 6 of the stars, and they were going to do it. And then something happened, and it went down the tube, and Bud died 2 or 3 months later.
2001, yeah.
Yeah. But he was a very talented man, very hardworking, and a pleasure to work with him.
Yeah. And his movies still, when you watch them, they still really move.
They're good pictures.
Yeah. All of them.
And the best ones he made were the ones that Burt wrote for him. He understood that, and this is before Burt started directing.
Mm-hmm.
Hell, he couldn't make a living acting, writing, much less anything else. But it worked, and it worked. 7 Men From Now was one of them, and he did 3 or 4 more. Really, really good Western. And Burt could really write a Western.
And he kind of discovered, I don't know if he discovered or was the first director to really cast a lot of really great actors, well-known guys like Coburn and Warren Evans.
And, they more or less, Jimmy especially, got his start with one of them. I've forgotten which one it was.
Was it Tall T or 7 Men From Now or High Lonesome?
It was
Ride Lonesome, maybe?
It may have been Ride Lonesome, or it could have been 7 Men From Now. I mean, with a title like that, you can't, no way you can fail.
Right.
But Bud did it, and he never ever, what do I say? He never ever really got the recognition that he richly deserved.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Especially when you look at how many directors borrowed from him.
Stole from him right and left.
Yeah.
But he was a sliver of Raul. If you look at Raul's pictures, they're basically humor. Incidentally, they tell a story. Battle Cry was the first picture I made. I've seen it 50 times. In Europe, Africa, Seen it almost all over the world. Never have I ever seen it in a theater where when it is over, the audience fails to stand up and applaud. This is from a motion picture. That's Raul took it and put things down at their low level so that you understood where he was trying to get, and he wanted you to understand. And it worked. So it was fun for me to do that one. But then one of those things where I started making so much money, he couldn't afford me. And I lost I would like to have done some more with Bud. Be damned with the money. You very quickly you learn that pictures are really about scripts. And people say, I don't believe that, or it's just so. It's true. And when you get somebody like Bud or Bert who have figured something out, they made about 6 little pictures that were the best the business put out for about 3 years. The best. And when you see that, if you're smart enough to cash in on it, Raul was, Bud was, but almost, if you look carefully at their stuff, you'll realize that it's really structured for comedy. They love comedy. I should say warmth, which is also comedy. And they'll do anything. In Battle Cry, he had Aldo opening the beer bottles with his teeth. And I said, it's ridiculous. And they're going to laugh you out of the theater. The audience loved it. But Aldo could get away with a lot of things that the rest of us couldn't.
So you only did the one movie with Bud? Or did you do any of his...
No, just the one.
None of his TV work or anything like that?
No.
I thought I saw your name. I'm thinking of Lucian Ballard. That's what I'm thinking of.
Lucian I did a lot with.
You did a few with him, right?
Lucian was, to me, the best cameraman going. And I was very lucky to work with him 8 or 10 times, especially with Peckinpah.
Right.
Because Sam realized just how good Lucian was. It's just funny, Lucian was not that popular, and he should have been. But once we did Ride the High Country, which I think is the best Saturday afternoon, hold your girl's hand and eat popcorn Western ever made. It's fantastic. But it's what do I say? It's comedy, but it's something else in between. But look at the stuff on Ride the High Country. R.G. Armstrong. How do you get around some? And Randy, Joel, these two. If they took the number of westerns those people made, there wouldn't be much left to put on the screen.
Seriously.
And Randy was again, same thing. And he had more money than God. And he could finance the government. So, but he was such a nice man.
Really?
I worked with him twice, and it was great fun each time. And boy, you learn something from him. What does a leading man do? Overact is not the word. And he showed you that. That voice of his, and he was an extraordinarily handsome man. He was also extraordinarily rich. Just had money to burn. But a hard worker. It was such fun to watch he and Joel McRae work together. And it was funny because they were both cast. Bert got the director, Richard something, to cast them. And both of them on the same day called Bert and said, I'm not right for this part. What am I going to do? Is there some way you can get them to change it? Well, he had already talked to the director who had said he was going to change both their parts. So that's what it looked like he did, and the parts worked beautifully. And if you look at the picture, you realize you couldn't switch the two. It was perfect. And they realized that. But they are, Randy, Joel owned half of Thousand Oaks. I mean, he had more money than God. But he would come in about 2 or 3 times a month and call. And if I wasn't working, go down and have coffee with him. And he was he's with either he or Randy, 2 best men God ever put together. Just lovely to work with both of them.
Was that your favorite of the Peckinpah films?
Either that or the other one, which is the Ballad of Cable Hog.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Ballad, the Ride to High Country is Sam Peckinpah. He came from the family because, Sam was a nut, but he was a talented nut. But he didn't fit too well with the world because his brother or his father was Chief Justice of the California Supreme Court.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, all of them with heavy education, and Sam comes along making motion pictures. So they weren't sure they were going to have him committed, and should have. But Peckinpah had the greatest sister that God ever put on earth, who was married to Walter the Friendly Bear, and she kept him straight. What a lovely lady. But Sam, what do I say? Sam didn't realize how talented he was. But he'd be committed if he were alive today. He's crazy.
Yeah.
But talent, I think the best one for Westerns, once Mr. Ford left us. And if you look at his stuff, he takes a standard operating Western and made it something better. Ride to High Country's been made 34,000 times.
Sure.
And I hate to watch the picture because I'll sit there and cry like a baby when it's over. There's nothing I can do about it. I've tried. But Sam, I just, how can you say it? He was crazy, but he was crazy like a fox in a lot of ways. But his sister kept him straight, and so did Walter the Friendly Bear, who was in stocks. Walter, such a nice man. He was lucky to have a backup of a family. Otherwise, he could never have made the pictures that he made. Mm-hmm. They saw to it that he got through them. But it's still like we did Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
One of my favorite films of all time.
Okay.
Love it.
Well, but Slim and I are going down in the plane. We didn't start with it. And they're paying me a fortune. And when I told my agent what I wanted, he said, you're insane. They're not going to pay that money for you. I said, just what I want, tell them. And they paid it. So now we are arriving. We get there, and when that's the case, when they're paying you that kind of money, when you hit the airport, there's a limousine with your makeup lady or man, with the wardrobe person, and you drive to location, and when you get there, you step out. You're made up, you're in wardrobe, you do what you've got to do, and you undress while you go back to the airport, and you're through. Mm-hmm. They've stayed within a budget. That's all you can do. Well, we got there, and 7 days later, I hadn't even heard from Sam. And I finally got a call. He said, "Can you do me a favor?" "You bet." "Would you go help him with wardrobe?" Because he liked the wardrobe that I did. So I went and did the wardrobe. I'm making more money than the star, for Christ's sake. And I'm helping with wardrobe. And they says, "Okay, come out." And you know how it is? I think it probably have happened that someone that you know very well, that you really like, is really ill, and you may not see him again. This is it. That's what Sam looked like when I went out to see him. And still I didn't work. I worked another 4 or 5, played around another 5 days. And then we did the scene, you've seen the picture, Cotty and Slim was his death scene. It is unbelievable. It's so good.
Great love story in 3 shots.
You bet. Amazing piece of work. We shot that all in one day. And then we finally went back. Both of us didn't have to work the rest of the year because Sam had failed to do his work.
Did you guys or did Peckinpah have just talking about that scene where he dies by the river? Did he have any idea what that was going to turn out to be? That it was going to be that?
Sam did.
Yeah.
We were having a great deal of fun, Jimmy and I, because if you remember, I'm crawling around on the rooftop, and I come down and I get shot, and I'm wearing black BVDs, which was my name, Black.
Yeah.
And that worked fine, and he was very happy. And now it's getting dark, and we couldn't figure out what the hell Sam was going to do. And he set him up. Cotty, of course, is a marvelous actress, and she knew what to do. And he waited and waited and waited until, as he loved to do, he had maybe 15 or 20 minutes to do the shot. And if he didn't get it in that period of time, they were going to have to wait 24 hours to do it again. But look at the color in that scene. You practically are in tears before it ever starts. I was in tears because the son of a bitch stole $15,000 from me, and he was discussing all of that period, how he was going to pay me, which of course he never did. But that was Peckinpah.
You get in speaking of wardrobe in Ride the High Country, I love that you're wearing you're the cook of the family and you're wearing the apron that's like falling off. That was I don't know if that was your choice.
Oh yeah. Sam let me alone and would just tell me what he wanted, and I would do that. So every picture that I was with him, with almost everybody, I just got to do wardrobe, and I was when I was doing wardrobe helping, it wasn't wasted money because I was working with Gardy Dawson, who was the best I've ever seen. Gardy was the wardrobe man when we did the Wild Bunch, and he took 47 hampers full of clothes. Normally, in a big picture like that, you might take 3. And he ended up helping Sam direct it. Sam went on to do the #1 show, and he was doing the #2 because it was a question of, remember the big shootout that lasted 15 minutes with all the kids and was at the end of the shot? Well, that was what he was shooting, and most of that Gardy did direct, but it was you do a scene, you do a shot, and you had to lock up for about maybe an hour, 2 hours while he got all the wardrobe ready, and you did it again because he didn't like something, and they did it again. I love Gardy. He's a talented man. But Sam made a lot of people talented that didn't have it, because you find yourself on an island and you damn sure better do it. But have you seen any of Sam's or all of Sam's pictures?
Yeah. I've seen everything except Cross of Iron.
Well, that isn't worth seeing.
Oh, I haven't seen that either.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
You know, it's not bad. I like Sam because he does marvelous work. But he's crazy. I mean, he literally is crazy. But if you look at his stuff, people can't understand and he was crazy, how he's like that. How can you possibly do good work. And it's that Sam has great attention to detail. That's what separates. And if you think you know what attention to detail is, we are on that show, and we were on a big plane, which is gorgeous, and we shot all day for a night. And it's about to go home, and Sam said, "Oh, he wants to do one more." And we're doing a shot that you'll remember is in the picture where there's Bob Ryan, Paul, Struther, and myself. We are determining what we're going to do. We haven't the slightest idea, but we are planning what we're going to do. Well, we did the master shot on that. It's the wrong time of day, but we did it.
This is Wild Bunch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 months later, now we had a break, and Sam said, "Okay, we'll do the close-ups." So they, got Bob's, got Paul, got Struther, got mine, and they had a little trouble as it went along, but we finally did, and we got mine, and Sam said, "And about this line, okay, that's a cut." And we said, "Oh shit, who's done it? We're gonna find out." And he started around. He asked the camera what he had done. He asked this, he asked that. Finally got on props, and he said, "Tony, what did you think?" And Tony says, "What? Fine, what's to think? For Christ's sake, if I were LQ, I'd start writing my acceptance speech. Who cares? It's fine." And Sam said, "Really?" And we knew the axe was going to fall. And he said, "How many beans does LQ have on his plate?" Tony said, "Hell, I know how many beans he got on his fucking plate." Well, he says he had 8. When we shot the master, he had 13. You're fired. Now we're 2/3 into the picture. All of your props have been supplied by Tony. And Tony says, "I'm going home. You can take this picture and shove it." And they begged and they pleaded, every one of us. Finally, Tony said, "Okay, I'll make this deal. I will not go on the set. I'll send my assistants. But if Peckinpah even trips and falls against my wagon, I'm going home." And that's what we did for the rest of the picture. Because Sam counted the beans.
Wow.
Now that's, you say, "Oh, it's silly." It is silly. That's carried to the up because he was about to make a $5 or $6 million. Well, that's what it was. If we had to start over again, it would have been $5 or $6 million to do it. But attention to detail. And that's what he wanted his crew doing the same thing. Actors doing the same thing. And you can't tell someone to do it. You have to show them they have to get their interest. Because almost everybody's made so many pictures. You don't think about it. But that's the way Sam was. And so many people just detested working with him. I loved it because it really made you think. I mean, but if you work one picture with Sam, you're crazy. Look at me, I did 13.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you something about that. But Sam knew what he was doing, and boy, you had to admire him for that.
Sure.
Even with the crap that went with it. So
Did you when you got well, how'd you get into Ride the High Country? Because that was your first movie with him. So did you go and read for that, or was it offered to you?
no, yeah, but it was one of those things. We did a picture called Annapolis Story, Navy Blue and Gold, John Derrick, who's one of the best looking ladies I've ever seen in my life. Oh yes, he's gorgeous. You put long hair on him, he'd won any beauty contest in the world.
Isn't that Bo Derrick's dad?
I think so. But he was an athlete beyond belief. Anyway, we did that, and Sam was helping with dialogue, a coach of sort. And that was my third picture. And I got it because of Battle Cry. But here's the guy, being Sam, said, "Kid, I like what you do. And when I start directing, you're going to work with you." "Oh, yeah, sure. Thank you." "Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah." And when I don't know, 2 or 3 years later, I happened to be in my agent's office, and he called up and made the deal for Ride to High Country, and it was Sam.
Let's pause 1 second just because.
Yeah, wait for those sirens.
Sorry.
We'll wait till that passes, and we'll do it again.
Sorry about that.
We're still growing it a little bit there.
I just didn't want.
Is that clear?
I didn't want it to drown you out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shall we do that again, or?
Sure. Or you can just
Yeah,
resume
so,
if you want.
Sorry, you were saying about how you met Sam Peckinpah.
Okay, so he said, "I like what you're doing, kid, and when I direct, I'm going to be a big director." "Yeah, George." And I was sitting in my agent's office, and he called and made the deal for Ride to High Country. And then after that, I think I worked practically every picture Sam did. I don't know why. I damn sure wasn't cheap. But Sam, he just, like all crazy people, occasionally he had moments of silence, and where it was, you could figure things out. And I think he knew that I would keep an eye on him, because a lot of times he would do things like the how many beans the LQ got in his plate, where we had to draw the line. And like on Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid, I'm in for beginning 2 or 3 days, and then I disappear and I show back up for the one scene, and that's it. Well, we did that okay, and I was about ready to go home again because I was making so much money, and who was it? Chris? It may have been Chris. No, that wasn't Chris. Anyway, made up his mind that I was so good that I had to be in the rest of the picture. That meant you had to redraw, you had to rewrite, you had to reshoot the whole thing. Dave Weisbart was the producer, who was one of the nicest men God ever put together, that I worked for on my second picture. And I thought he was going to have a heart attack. Good God, he was looking at an absolute failure with everything. And Sam was going to do it. But that's the way he was. It wasn't because of me. But you learn to get along with him, but you had to say no at certain times. Strother got along with him because he was petrified of him. When we did, what the hell was it? I've forgotten the picture now. But we'd been shooting for about 3 or 4 weeks when Strother came on, and we're in a small motel, and there was no place for Strother to stay. So I said, hell, put him in with me in my suite, but do it. And he decided that as we went along, he wanted Sam to change his dialogue, our dialogue, and he wore a path. Let's say if that's my bed, he was walking that, and he wore the carpet down where you could see where he had walked, trying to tell me that I had to tell Sam to change his dialogue. So, of course, Strother there's nobody as good as Strother ever was.
We saw him yesterday in a movie you might have heard of called The Brotherhood of Satan.
I produced it and
I know.
owned it. Did you happen to notice his nude scene?
Yeah, that one shot of him. I said, is he naked?
And we did it because we said, what's going to happen Well, it's like if you're
jarring,
around
it's good.
I'm sorry?
It's very effective. It jars you out of,
that's what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
But it works on psychology because remember Dick Crockett? Remember the stunt man?
Mm.
Oh, they did 1 billion stunts, and he was a good actor along with it. But he was working, and what he had to do was, it's a jungle picture, there's a campsite, there's a tent, and a broad in the tent, and he swings out as the gorilla and tears the back of the camp thing off and makes off with her. And the next day, it was when it got back, the Russians got there, and they caught Dick as he was going out of the gate for another show. And he said, please, would you come back? Yeah. And so he said, I'm going to show you something. Tell me. Oh, he said, let me show you something. So here it is, the girls in the tent, the fire, what you call it. Here comes the gorilla swinging out of the trees. But he's wearing a pair of two-tone shoes. Katzman was doing the picture. Well, they saw it and said, my God, we've got to shoot it again. And Katzman said, no, leave it in. Well, says, you're crazy. He said, no, I'm not crazy. Because he's going to come and he swings out, and here's the guy sitting with his girl. And she looks at it and doesn't see it. But he's going to say to her, did you see the gorilla with the two-tone shoes? And he's not about to say that. And so he's going to see it, but he'll not say anything. I guarantee you, nobody will say anything. They released the picture. Not one letter came in calling what had happened about the two-tone shoes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's how smart Katzman was. Well, he made, what was it? I think he made 254 pictures. And they laughed at him, and he said, well, 253 of them made money. You still want to laugh. He talked to his secretary. He would come in on Monday morning and say, let's make a picture. And they were shooting by Tuesday and in the theaters by Saturday. He just knew how to do anything. We ended up with his man that figured his thing. We did a picture called Men in War. You ever see it?
Not
think so.
I don't think I could find it.
It is a gorgeous picture. Robert Bryan, Aldo Ray, Nikki Persoff is in it. And I've done like I said, 113 movies and 400 to 500 television shows. That's the only one that we started out on page 1 and shot it straight through.
Wow.
I've never heard of any other picture being done that way. The guy who did the stuff for Sam Katzman came in. You talk about really helpful to actors, to everybody, because you know exactly what you're going to do, what you did yesterday, and do it.
Exactly.
It's one of the greatest war pictures ever made. Man, it's really, really good. Robert Keith is in it also. Good picture.
Nice.
I had it on 2 or 3 times last month, I think. Anyway, what else?
Well, we want to talk to you about a boy and his dog.
Okay.
How did you find that story?
Well, we were working on one of our pictures. I've forgotten which one it was. And my cameraman, John Morrow, best cameraman in the business, dropped off. He says, I've got a story I think you might be interested in. And he dropped it off and said, read it and tell me what you think. And about 2 or 3 months passed. And Sheila, our secretary, said, Q, have you read his story? Oh, no. God. Well, she's coming in tomorrow to talk about some things. You owe it to him. And I said, you're right. So I took it home with me that night. And I had a bunch of family things. And I didn't get around to it till about 2 o'clock in the morning. And the kids were asleep, and I had to get up the next morning at 5 o'clock. But I read it, and I got about a third of the way through, and I said, this is criminal, absolutely criminal, because he cannot top this. How are you going to end it? There is no way. And then I read another third, and I said, it's getting worse. It's impossible. And I read the last third, and I fell on the floor in hysterical laughter at 3 o'clock in the morning, realizing what it could be.
Yeah.
Walked in the next morning to Alvy Moore, my partner, and said, this is what we're going to shoot next.
Is the ending of your film the same in the book? Or similar?
Yes, and I'm it almost put me in the poorhouse. We traveled with the picture when it first came out, and I could be 3 or 4 blocks away from the theater and know when the picture ended.
Yeah.
People have thrown up. They literally, they have fainted. They've jerked chairs out of the ground. And to me, it's hysterically. I'm the only one in the world that would do that ending to a picture.
Agree.
Well, I can tell
You cannot end it any other place.
We were cracking up. We had to rewind it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you don't believe it.
Well, it's when he laughs, when he starts laughing along with the dog. We're like, what?
And goes in the air and I freeze. I've had 235 offers to do another Boyd's dog. But I want to do it. And one of these days I will do it. I don't know but I'm going to do that. He's dead. Because I want to do it about the girls. It cost me a lot of money because females wouldn't go see it because they said you're taking up for one side and leaving us out, and that's right. But that's what the story was, and I said you can do what you like, but I didn't spend all the money I got to buy something and then pay no attention to it. That's what I'm going to do,
Right.
And I love the ending.
You made the right choice.
But the dog is hysterical.
The dog's a great actor.
The dog is
He
a
is an
seriously good
actor.
actor.
We did things with that dog. You don't see it. Where'd you see it? On TV?
It's not on TV. Yeah.
Shouldn't see it on TV. There's many things going on you can't see. But that damn dog on the farewell scene, where he's waiting outside the drop shaft, tears.
He got emotional. See?
Tears.
That's what I said.
You have to look very carefully, and you don't believe they're there. It's like that. It's like the two-tone shoes, but they just drip down the side. I tried to buy them for everything that I could stir, and they said no. Finally, they came up with a price, but I couldn't afford it. But I said, I'll guarantee you that he will not do anything else except another Boyd's dog, because he was on the Brady Bunch. He's the dog on the show, but he's marvelous.
Great dog.
I thought I was crazy because I'm watching the scene. It's when he and Don Johnson part ways.
That's what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
and I look at Raul. I'm like, I think the dog is doing the work. I think the dog just got emotional for real.
He did.
Yeah.
He went into tears. I tell people that, and they say, but he does. The dog was, for a while, there was a movement afoot to put him up for an Oscar as Best Supporting Actor.
I would have loved
They wouldn't have to get it by me. That's the damnedest, most talented animal I have ever been around. He understood about 50 words of English. So you watch the boys talking, and he's talking to the dog on long shots, where you wouldn't hear. But he's telling the dog what to do. And yet, on the very scene you're talking about, hysterical. We did the thing, and I have them come in and they walk by camera, and this is where they have the argument about what he's going to do, and then the dog leaves to go to the drop shaft. Go to the drop shaft. And I'm sitting there and I said, no, hold it. That's terrible. It won't work. I tell you what, blood, God damn it, you're dropping behind. You're doing the wrong thing. Now I'm talking to the dog. The handler is over here reading a newspaper or a magazine. My crew is not laughing because we've been on the show for about 4 weeks. They know what the damn dog can do. And so I said, I got to see it. Get up here. Okay, let's try it again. Now comes the brilliance. We made the swing. The dog's nose was plastered to Don's knee. Not touching it. If the knee went that way, he went that way. He stuck with him. It got to a place over here about 20 or 30 feet. He stopped. The dog moved forward, looked to the place we've got to go for the drop shaft, comes back, walks over to the boy, puts his muzzle in the boy's arms, and looks up at him. I couldn't take, Brando would be hard pressed to do everything the dog did. And nobody laughed, nobody thought anything about it. It was the dog. He was brilliant, truly brilliant. And I can't, I can get the money, but I can't get another dog. I don't know another dog. And without him, it'd take you 10 years to finish the show.
Yeah. And the great voice acting of the actor who did the voice of the dog. Was he?
Well, that's Sam Peckinpah.
Yes, he was great, really good actor. And we got
pause
some
1
noise
second.
outside.
Ooh, you want to go again?
No, we got.
Okay.
It
Just
was
wait
like
for that
overwhelming. It was
motorcycle.
just probably
Okay.
better if you just was.
No, but the dog is, and it was because of me, I guess. Not that I'm smart, but we took Don, the dog, and Joe Harnock, who was the handler. Now he was not a trainer; he was the handler. And so what we did was went out to the park for about 3 or 4 times a week for about 2 or 3 months. And I finally said, Joe, I know I've never heard of this. I don't believe it's even possible, but can you change the command from the boy to the dog? I said, I don't think so. Let's give it a try. And he did, and that damn dog, Jason Robards, who at the time was the best actor in our business, came down and did his part. And when it was through, he said, what'd you think? And I said, let me tell you something. If you could hit your mark like Tiger hits his, I can make a star of you. And he knew exactly what I was saying. And that I was right. That dog was beyond belief. I watched the picture 500 times. You have to when you're working on it. It's all you do. Get the reference points. I don't watch anybody else. I watch the dog. And to this day, he has not failed to show me something new. Every time I watch him, he was brilliant. Truly brilliant. I shudder to think what would have happened if he had, and he did it without little bitty things you don't think about. What is the first thing that makes you think it's an animal, a dog? Can you think of it? First time you see him? What's the first thing that lets you know he's a dog?
I remember he's talking, he lies down, he's telling him to go get food.
No, yeah, that would work. But the thing is, a dog wags his tail. And so we didn't want that to happen. We made a device that it was made to clamp around his tail and wrap around his buttocks, so you wouldn't see it, but it would keep the tail from wagging. And we did that the first day. And the second day we forgot it, and we had to work without it, and he never wagged his tail. He didn't wag his tail for the rest of the picture when he was shooting.
Wow.
Now you say that's bullshit. I'll tell you, I went through about 5 weeks of it. I know what that damn dog could do.
Yeah.
He was marvelous. He should have won supporting actor.
Really should have.
Yeah.
I don't know who won that year.
I have no idea who it was. But it's used. That happens. Like I was saying, I could raise plenty of money to do another boy. I won't do it about the girls. But so far, I've just said there's no way you can get a dog like that, and you're not. And so it's going to beat your head in for nothing.
Right.
I don't think I've seen a movie about a sort of post-apocalyptic world that depicted that type of future in the way that it is depicted in Boy and His Dog. You have that desert landscape, everything's sort of like
It's all done on purpose.
Wasteland.
Yeah.
There are a lot of dead.
There's not
bodies
one
lying
one
around.
blade of grass.
Right.
And that's right. So because I, and we were doing the picture. I didn't have any money, or I had very little, and I said, "What can I do?" Because if you, the only thing they were thinking about was making the picture with 3 city blocks of locations, and you had to build them all. They didn't exist. And I said, and it pestered me for days, weeks, months, and then finally it occurred because I talked to people who were knowledgeable about what would happen if we had the atomic bomb go off. And that's it. Everything is going to be mud because it's going to upset the sea. The oceans will not stay where they belong. It's going to wash the world. And that what'll happen, it's going to dry and you got mud. And as soon as I said mud, I knew I was home. And that's the way I did the picture. And we had, I could have done a better job, but we did a pretty good job. I built cities out of old used rubber tires. And you had to understand it before you could do it, and you had to believe you could do it. Because when I got through with the picture, we showed it to ABC. They said, we might want to think about it. And so he put 3 people on the picture, and they worked for, I think it was 10 days, figuring out what it cost so they would know what to offer. And just as a chuckle, the president and I happened to be on speaking terms, and he asked me how much it cost me for the picture. And I said, I'm not going to tell you. Oh, he said, it won't make any difference. Well, we know what you said. Well, fine, okay. How much did it cost you? And he said, what was it? $3.2 million. And he was right, it's what it should have cost. But instead I made it for about $400,000. It's beautifully done. Which, I wish I had the talent that the picture shows. Nobody does, but it was one of those lucky things where everything we did was right.
Yeah.
Didn't make any difference, it worked. But we kept that one thing in mind. And therefore, when we went down below to Topeka, everything looked so rich because it was the first time you had any real color. And you had marching bands and food, and the dogs looked so clean. And it made it really like a huge budget. And they were all church people that I got borrowed the band uniforms for. And that's all it was. So it wasn't, what do I say? It was brilliant because no one thought that we had done the picture for less than 3-point-something million.
Right.
And it was worth it for that. And it made a lot of money. Should have made a lot more. But, you learn as you go along. So, what have I failed to answer?
No, I have one. No, you got
Go ahead.
I have one more thing I wanted to ask you.
Please do.
Before we wrapped up. When we met a year ago, you told me a story, and I've forgotten some of it, but it was really interesting, about one of your first performances when you were young with Helen Keller.
Yeah. Well, and it was all completely I didn't do anything except I was playing with the Philharmonic Orchestra in Beaumont, Texas. And Helen Keller was the guest of honor. And most of us didn't even know who Helen Keller was. We finally figured out. And she showed up and she sang. And which I couldn't figure out how and then it was very plain. Because in my mind what did she do? She came out, she did a little bow to the crowd, and she walked over and rested her hands on the piano. And she could tell what was playing. So she was able to sing. It was off key, but it didn't make any difference. She sang a whole song.
Just by touching the piano, she could tell? Wow.
Well, you're going to. With her, remember, she'd been for life. So you and I probably couldn't do it, but she could feel that rhythm. And that's what she was attuned to that. And I happened to talk to a guy who was huge in the business of writing arrangements and so forth. And I told him about it. He said, it must have been beautiful to watch because you can do it. And she had the training to do it. It was abysmal sound, but it was a song she set out to do. Did you remember that's the way it was done?
Yeah, that's so cool.
Piece of work.
Wow. Yeah.
And you had something you wish to say.
Oh, I saw that you were, that's a good place to end if you like, but I was curious as you had directed something before A Boy and His Dog, right? The Devil's,
Yes.
The Devil's
Bedroom.
Bedroom, yes.
That picture cost us about, what was it? For the whole picture, I think it was $11,000. It was terrible. It was hideous. It was so bad it was good. People laughed at it and I was okay.
Yeah.
I nearly got in fight with people who, it was chosen as one of the 10 best of the year pictures. Stop and think about it, because there was a lot of action, people running around nervously, doing everything. Morgan Woodward was in it. Alvy Moore was in it. He's my partner. The girl, I can't remember her name. I'm going to go out with some of her ardent supporters tomorrow. But it's a true story. Not the way we told it,
Right.
but it's a true story. Yeah, the two brothers were to share in it, and one of them decided the best thing to do, of course, was to kill the other off. So they got oil discovered on the property. But Dick Jones did the fireball, and boy, it was really done dangerously, because he came out of the cave on fire, and it was up in his face. Luckily, everything worked. We got him the instant he hit the ground. We were on him with wet paper and wet cloth. Yeah, we got it up in his face first, so that worked. He got a couple of light singes with fire, but we got through with it okay.
Yeah, you got through it, and it made you, when you were done, you still felt like directing again, obviously, because then you made it.
Well, you can't think of that as directing, because every time you open the camera, when we lit the picture was lit with just light bulbs, and every time we opened the damn camera, all of the film was like this. So we never knew if we were going to get a shot or not. The guy who was doing the sound was 30 or 40 feet away. We asked him if he wouldn't like to join us to see if maybe he could hear something, but that didn't work. And it did. We made money with the dumb thing.
Yeah.
No, nobody could believe we'd do it that bad on purpose. It was hysterical. But almost any picture is fun.
That's true.
You know, if you approach it right, and it's just fun.
Yeah.
You're finding that out, and it's fun being in the business. And I've been very luckier than almost anybody with the help that I've been given. And I've gotten to work with such talented people. Invariably, I mean, I'm almost never work for a director for one picture, but I do with the people, the actors. I keep getting all brand new faces, and it's just great fun. They do such marvelous things. Boy, is actually a brilliant picture. I wish I were as smart as it shows that someone was. But it is, and one of the beauties of it is, and this is very strange, we started out in '75 in the theaters. So that meant that we've been, 34 years making the picture from release. It has never been off of the screen from the first day it was released. And it's still, I get 3 or 4 calls a year for people who want to put a huge sum of money into it and get it back out. It's never off of the screen. But they want to do this, that, and the other. Actually, what they want to do is make a lot of money. And we didn't set out to do Boy because we want to make a lot of money. We wanted to try something. And we did things that no one else has ever done. One of the great reasons is the damn dog. If you don't have that dog, you can't even begin to do it. But we did stuff that you just can't do. And we made it work.
Yeah.
Don did a hell of a job. I mean, as an actor, you don't want to work with an animal, for Christ's sake, and a talking dog. You don't have a prayer. And he didn't, but he did everything you can do and came out of it and did a hell of a job. We're not getting along these days because he believed what the papers told him, that it looks like when you're doing, if you made pictures, you know that if you're getting let's say an income for $3,000, it's got to be $32,000. That's it. And he believed that the stuff we put out was what the picture was doing in the theaters. And I tried to show him. I said, you know, you're spending your money. And he did. He spent, $275,000 to check the books. And I said, all you got to do is send any representative to our office, which he finally did. And you'll realize the numbers we give you are the exact numbers that the picture is showing. That the other stuff was just hype. And here is the money. So don't waste your money. This is it. And you just can't do what we did with the picture because we made it. We had one print. We opened that. They figured we gave it away every Saturday night for 4 nights and a midnight showing. And they said, chicken bird on the theater. I love that. And they were giving me the space because this is in Austin, Texas. They knew me and I knew them when I was in school. So they said, what the hell? It'll only cost us a little bit of money. And when it opened, finally, the line was 3 blocks long. to see the picture. But we made our money there, but now we had to take that money and buy more prints. Because at no time did we ever have more than 50 prints. So,
Yeah.
excuse me just a second, let me see what
no
this
problem.
is.
Sure.
Probably I owe him money. Hello?
LQ.
Yes,
LQ, it's David Bando.
David Bando, a voice from the grave. Where's my money, you thief?
Well, see, I called you a couple of months ago.
I know, no, you called me a couple of years ago.
No, it was actually a couple of months ago, and I offered, you were still out in the back picking through that garbage can or filter can or whatever you were doing.
Listen, David, I've got your phone number. I'm doing an interview. Let me give you a call later tonight.
All right, do you have the one that I did? This is a new number. Did you get it?
713-0616.
Yeah, that's it. Give me a call when you get a chance.
I'll do it.
All right, thank
Good to
you.
hear from you, babe. Take care. Bye.
All right, my pleasure. Bye-bye.
What lie was I telling?
Yeah. Well, about the theater in Austin, Texas, where you
Oh,
screened
yes,
a boy
and,
and his dog.
All of our money went for prints. We were the only, it was one of those things, the picture was making money, goodly sums. But I don't know whether you understand this or not. When you do it, you think it's very easy. It's cash business. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That's it. But on average, you don't get paid for over 8 months. That's on average. Well, we were being paid day and date as we played because it was doing so well and they were making money with it. But then what happened? You buy more prints and the money you're putting in your pocket stops again. And you're just going along. But if all we were interested in was making money, we probably wouldn't have made a boy and his dog.
Yeah, it's pretty clear that there's a sense, you're talking Cold War, 1970s, there's a sense of things that could happen, the bombs going off in the beginning.
I tried to get them to realize it may be, you better pay attention because this is what's going to happen, and you won't have fun with blood to laugh at because it's going to be a fact of life.
Right.
And it still may be.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was going to ask how close do you think the film of Boy and His Dog is set in 2024?
It's coming up.
How close are we to the future?
Oh, and we're already into the future, and it's just it's a fact of life. This is what the picture was and is, and people still don't see it. They laugh at it, and we did it. I mean, I did it on purpose. Tim and I wrote for humor because it was so unsettling what was taking place, like the ending. When was the last time you saw your leading lady eaten, for Christ's sake?
Don't get
There
in the
may
way
be-
of a boy and his dog.
It may not be a good review, but at least they're still with us. And of course, we were lucky. We had, what's her name, who was centerfold not once, but twice.
She did give a great performance in that film.
Well, she's a terrible actress. But I mean, with that body, she doesn't have to really act. And so the only place she let me down, because I kept working with her, and she was doing a really good job, but in the park, when they're trying to get away, and she's after the boy not to do certain things, it shines through that it's not working. But nothing I could do about it. It was my fault. I should have helped her. And we can only do so much because we shot the whole thing in 20 days.
Wow. Yeah.
So we were making things work. It wasn't that she wasn't trying. She was trying. She just isn't an actress.
Sure. And the message is clear. She used him to get.
That's
to,
all. Yeah, see, that's what
that's
what she's there for.
Through. Absolutely.
Because you got that, and you got Jason Robards, you got the best actor in our business. Not the biggest star, but the best actor.
Great actor. Had you done Cable Hogue with him before that? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd worked a couple of things because he and Sam were great friends.
Yeah, he's in Pat Garrett too, right? Yeah, plays the. Is he Governor Wallace?
I've forgotten what it is. The thing after a while began to get a little smudgy.
He's either Governor Wallace or the part that Coburn played in the Young Guns movie.
And Jimmy is so good,
Chisholm.
but the actors we had, even Hal Baylor, bless his heart, at the very end, he's the metal motherfucker, the cop, and he's chasing the boy and he gets shot, and his clothes catch on fire.
Yeah, that's an incredible. The way he's walking in that, and the way.
Well, it was working, but he's on fire, and we kept, because I wanted a certain shot, and so we kept shooting, and finally then I ran out and took my clothes and beat out because he was all burned up the back. We had asbestos that we had underlaid the thing with, but I let him sit there too long, and it was burning him. Never a complaint. But the picture was one of those things we got there. The last night we shot 18 hours, and we made up 200 and some odd people. Everybody in the cast was a makeup artist when we first got there. The picture should not have even been done.
That's beautiful. Sure. Just looking at the sheer amount of people in that picnic scene with the band, and everybody's face is painted. I remember saying to myself,
it took a long time. We had 200 and some odd people.
Yeah,
and the last line that Jason wrote is it was his line, because he's telling them there's all this to do taking place, you're telling them to do this, that, and the other, and tell him to wipe that damn smile off his face, because that's what Michael does all the time. It's beautiful line. But the picture's one of those marvelous things. It should not have worked. It is a tough picture to do. You got to be just right with it. And the ending, it's hellacious. But if it doesn't work, the whole picture's gone. And it worked.
It definitely works.
Yeah, everybody worked in the picture. Every person carried his load and saw to it that other people did also. Again, being helpful.
It's beautiful.
Did any of the directors you'd worked with see the movie and say anything to you about it?
No, but it's very funny because I saw Showboat 2 days ago, and I went to see him. The guy George Folsey, no, not Folsey, George, whatever. He directed it, and he had read A Boy and His Dog, and I had submitted it to MGM, and I went to see him about directing the piece, and he said no, he couldn't do it. He was committed to something else that it wouldn't work. But he said, don't be an idiot. Go direct it yourself. Since you wrote it, go direct it, because nobody else will understand it.
Right.
And it was funny because our gaffer, actually we carried 2 gaffer with the show because they were good friends, and we carried them, and I took them, both of them, as a matter of fact, went with me down to Barstow, where we had to carve out to get the other 20 miles where we shot the picture. they said they don't know what's going to happen because they can't understand it and nobody else does. So how are you going to shoot it? But it worked.
Yeah.
You know, and the main thing that made it go together is the dog. He is so good. I chose the right things by accident or whatever it was. But there's a balance in it, and it's really a gorgeous picture. And if push comes to shove, it's because of the dog. You don't realize just how good he is. It's unreal. He should have. He won the Patsy. There was no discussion about that at all. But he should have been for an Academy, which would have been something all to itself.
Hell of a
I'd
performance.
love to see
You
that.
bet.
Yeah.
LQ, thanks for coming and hanging
You
out.
bet.
with us.
Nothing else
so
we can
much.
do? Did you get all yours answered?
I did, yeah. This is your list of all the films and all these credits on IMDb.
Hail Slade real quick. Would you mind just giving me
Well, those are not all of them.
No,
one more harder? Thank you.
I did